it was not a problem then. Why should there be now?
You believe what you're saying.
Brittany, this ain't the way, sister.
What would Jesus do? He would be with and support.
I wasn't offended by her until this lawsuit.
Generalizing people and taking away people's rights is wrong.
And she's put me in a position to feel like an absolute idiot. Okay, so they took Miss North Carolina's crown. She cried foul. She said she was going to sue, but now we see the lawsuit. And it is jaw-dropping, line after line after line after line. Welcome, everybody. I'm TJ. That's Robes. My dear lovely, I didn't think this story was going to have as many legs as it has, but 79 pages worth of legs now. I cannot believe this is getting worse for this young lady.
It is. And you began by reading the lawsuit the day before. I finished it up today. And I have to tell you, it is one of the most incredible reads ever. It goes by quickly. 79 pages sounds like a lot, but when you're reading what's in this lawsuit, you can't stop. It is literally a page turner.
And I'm trying. I'm trying, Robes. I'm still giving this young lady grace. I don't know if she's getting bad advice. I don't know what is going on with her. But this is a 79-page miss. Like, she had an opportunity, Robes. Even when she had N-word accusations, I was still trying to give her grace. This one makes it tough because it seems as if she does not get it. So the question for all of us, how much more grace do you give somebody, Robes, when she's making mistakes?
She's proved herself to be, so far, a defiant victim.
Okay.
A defiant victim. And I think that's where I'm having a really hard time with it. I understand.
Yeah.
And she's 27. She's not 17. She's got some learning to do, as we all did at the age of 27. I still have learning to do at 53. So
Okay.
I get that. But this is fairly outrageous.
Okay, and what we're talking about, Brittany Boltinhouse. If you all get you caught up, this pageant, she won in July.
I believe it was the end of June.
End of June.
Miss North Carolina, USA.
And then it was taken away within a month.
Within a month. Yeah.
Okay, so she wins, it's taken away. They put out this long statement. They weren't specific, Robes, and we thought that they did her a solid by not getting into specifics when they said, we're taking the crown because of a collection of things brought to our attention. They also made a statement about we will never stand for language that is racist or homophobic, transphobic, da-da-da-da.
The inference was that she obviously, in
Said
some
some of that
way,
stuff.
shape, or form, said something, did something that could be viewed as racist against trans and gay communities.
Okay, but they didn't get specific. But the first time then we hear from her, Robe, she goes out and she does an interview with a local reporter, and the local reporter. Now, at this point, we only knew about N-word stuff because
Correct.
those old tweets of hers had gotten out. That's all the bad we had confirmed.
That's bad enough to cancel most people these days.
Especially if you're not black and you have a laundry list of public statements.
You said especially if you're not black. Let's be clear. If you're black, is it okay to say the N-word? However you choose to do so.
Yes, in private still. But in mixed company or in a boardroom or what, it's still not considered normal language. It's not colloquial. You don't share it in that way. It's an intimate thing that is shared. Yes, it's a part of music. It's always going to be a part of music, but
that's different.
Yeah.
What if everything was the same? And Miss North Carolina USA, actually, who is now black, but okay, say Brittany Boltinhouse was black. Would she be held accountable for using the N-word in tweets?
Rose, I would have gone and protested on her behalf if they took her crown for a black girl saying the N-word.
Okay.
I would have supported her.
I just wanted to have
Yes.
that be something, because I actually think some people don't know.
I would always advise, don't tweet it out. It's just a vulgar word that should just not be thrown around in mixed settings. It's used in a very familial way.
You said intimate. And I think that reads.
In an intimate way. Yes. Yeah. And again, if you
only among black people.
If there are ever, right, you have follow-ups. If there are ever any questions, just consult your nearest black person. They can clear all this up for you.
Like, even in an intimate setting, engaged to you, I cannot say the N-word.
No,
period.
no,
Obviously,
never,
I'm
ever.
just saying, like, it doesn't matter who you're dating, who you're married to, just in case white people have questions. There's never an occasion. There's never an occasion where it's okay.
And even if you have a very dear black friend that gave you permission to use it around that friend, they don't speak for all of us.
Exactly. And I do think that needs to be said. And I think a lot of white people might not have
my goodness gracious.
Close enough black friends where they can ask this question to. So here is your close personal black friend for the moment, for the hour. Please, do as he says.
That is so fun. So yes, that was the only stuff we knew at the time about her. So she comes out and does this interview, Ropes, and it was driving us crazy. It was a 12, 13-minute interview. We were just waiting for the question to come that never came. It never came. She never asked her directly about...
Have you used the N-word? Do you still think it's okay to use the N-word?
And on and on and on and on and on. So we never got that answer. So she comes out, she has an attorney, they put out a statement, said they're going to be suing, they have evidence that she was actually what? How did they phrase it the first time with that attorney statement? Evidence that the real reason was because of her religious beliefs.
Correct.
That's what it was. That she's a Trump supporter. That's what they went with. So that brings us to now getting our hands, Robes, on this lawsuit, which is not a lawsuit. Did this surprise you? She's not fighting to get the crown back.
No, because she recognizes, at least her lawyers recognize, there is nothing she can do. She has zero grounds to stand on to get her crown back, because when you sign up to be a part of the Miss USA organization, there is a morality clause, and it is heavily weighted in the favor of the organization. If they deem anything that wouldn't reflect positively on their organization, they have the right to take your crown away, period.
Even if it's stuff you did in junior high.
Correct.
Yes.
So there was zero legal leg for her to stand on to get the crown back. But in our wonderful litigious American society, there's always an avenue to try and get some money out of it.
Robes, defamation. I didn't see that coming.
Did not either, because we actually...
Defamation, baby.
Actually, this is so interesting. I actually feel like this. This is one of those moments where, I don't know, we haven't had this conversation, where I feel like sometimes no good deed goes unpunished. I felt like, and I believe you did too, that the organization did her a solid by not throwing out all the receipts, by not putting out all of her N-word tweets, by not showing her January 6th post, by not showing the fact that she was against trans rights publicly in a social media post. All of those things, they could have just laid it all out, splashed it everywhere, and it would have made crazy headlines, and it would have been even worse for her in terms of public backlash. They opted to reserve that and keep that private and let her handle it, and even offered her an apology. And we're only learning about all of this because of her lawsuit. They actually were, I felt like, restrained in how they approached this. They were possibly trying to be kind.
Robes.
And now
we've seen in the lawsuit, and she recorded calls with these people, right? She recorded the calls. So we essentially have transcript. Robes, their explanations behind the scenes, all they had to do was put that out, and we would all go, oh, hell yeah, we get it. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. She's got to get out of there. Robes, the thing she put in here to make her case crumbles her case.
That was what blew my mind. In her own lawsuit, it was like one damning thing after another. I was like, why do you want this out there? You're supporting the Tate brothers?
I just knew about the N-word.
Who are proud misogynists who think rape victims are their own worst enemies because they were asking for it. She's supporting them publicly and then being and wanting to be in a role where she is...
Sash and crown.
She is representing women and and supposedly an inspiration to other women, yet she's publicly supporting misogynists. I mean, the N word aside, the other things that she's claiming got her or had forced are the real reasons behind the pageant taking away her crown are just as bad as, and I don't want to do comparative, the N word versus other things, but collectively, it's horrific. It's worse than I thought.
Yeah, and I didn't know about any of this until she put it in a lawsuit.
Did any of us, because I actually want to give kudos to the Miss USA organization for not doing it, for not throwing her under the bus. And I thought they were so kind in how they begged people not to cancel her, not to assume the worst.
Yeah, and they say in their lawsuit, they're actually saying that hurt her. They're saying it was over the top, or it was a gratuitous line. Yes, putting that line in there, telling people this is a young woman who deserves time and grace, and she's withstanding a lot, They said by putting that in there, it brought attention to this thing, made it sound like it was a big deal, and that was their admission that what they were doing by taking the crown was going to be a big deal. That's how they use it.
So should they have just listed all the tweets, all the posts, all the past action that collectively made it impossible for her to represent North Carolina within the Miss USA organization? I'm laughing because, look, again, I've said this before. I was in the Miss America pageant system. Look, they have standards, and understandably so. And any young woman who goes to compete in one of these competitions understands that you kind of have to be above reproach. Like, you do need to have a squeaky clean background if you want to represent this organization and what it stands for.
And what Miss America, Miss USA, what they represent.
Exactly.
They represent our best, the example that other young ladies are supposed to look up to.
Yes.
So, I gave them credit. If we could just left it at that statement they first put out, and she did one decent interview
saying I'm sorry,
I think she would have been in a much, much better place. But some of the stuff that's out now, Robes, I don't even know how she could have gone to the pageant and walked around all these other women, knowing what they know about her, the things that she has said and what she says she supports. They might take issue with her.
Yes, and by the way, in her lawsuit, she put up the apology letter that they actually offered her, that they wrote for her on her behalf to just basically sign. It was perfect. I think it was beautifully written. It acknowledged what she did wrong, and it was, I just thought, wrapped up in a bow and kind of awesome. The fact that she put that in there as like, look what they wanted me to sign, I was like, why wouldn't you sign that after everything you're now putting out there in this lawsuit that you claim, that you stand by? What the actual...
I don't know who's doing this for. I don't know if they have somebody internal or if they have a group on the outside doing this. But this is two statements, two public releases in the midst of kind of a controversy that I would say this organization nailed. The one that didn't get out, of course, was very well written.
Yes.
But the one originally, Rose, this is how you write them.
They did a great job.
They're doing a good job.
But I actually think now, is this going to be a cautionary tale for this organization, or frankly any business? If you have to fire someone, take some sort of a, I don't know what the equivalent to a crown would be, but some sort of an award away from somebody, if you don't prove or show what they did wrong immediately and have the receipts to back it up, they will take that vacuum and use it in a lawsuit. And unfortunately, it's like I said, no good deed goes unpunished. I do believe that they were trying to be kind. They were trying to make it as quiet of a dethroning as possible, given the incendiary nature of why they had to take the crown away. And I thought they were trying to minimize the backlash. And look what it got them.
Every time I hear you say that, you talk about the information vacuum, how that thing gets filled. Boy, don't we know. But this lawsuit,
it's a lesson.
This lawsuit. So here are the actual claims. 1, conspiracy to defame her. She said they maliciously coordinated to publish a narrative portraying her as a racist, homophobe, transphobe, and intolerable bigot. Also in here, why does she say they would do this? Because she supports Donald Trump, because she supported Charlie Kirk, and because she criticized Transgender Day of Visibility. I'll tell you exactly what that was in a second. What is her evidence of all this? Yeah, we said the recorded phone calls and those N-word claims, which are where we're going to start. Because this, Robes, started out when I first started reading this lawsuit. You know my mood. I was in tears almost. I was laughing my ass off.
But then you started getting angry.
And so at the very top, again, she used the N-word. We have them in here, but she has said it several times.
How many times?
She was a teenager. At least 6 posts, I believe.
6, 7, something like that.
They got out. Okay, and she is not black. Honduran and Mexican. Honduran, Mexican. She
describes herself as a Latina, the third Latina to win the Miss North Carolina USA title and the first woman of Honduran descent. And she was very proud of that. Nowhere in any of the language, in any of the articles, has it ever mentioned Afro-Latina, Black Latina, never, nothing, nada.
So when this whole thing came about, Rose, and she was accused of using the N-word, I actually left space.
You did?
I said, I don't know who she grew up around, what environment it was. She might have grown up around a lot of black folks who gave her permission to use the N-word, and she relates. I'm listening to that, and I use the Fat Joe reference, and there are plenty of
You 100% on the record defended, or at least gave her the space for it to be understandable that she thought it might be okay for her to use the N-word.
Okay, and then after the interview, where she didn't really address it, that was a little bit of a letdown.
A lot of a letdown.
Okay, but then she comes back now with a bang, baby. This is why I was laughing at the top. We'll get into where I got pissed. But the N-word claims, this is how she answers them in the lawsuit in a few ways. One, she identifies a family member that is black. Two, she says the N-word is, quote, a popular slang term. And three, essentially says, how can the N-word be bad if Beyonce uses it in one of her songs?
She even noted that the song she walked out on stage to, I don't know if it was the fitness portion of the competition or the evening gown, but it was a Beyonce song that has the N-word in it. Obviously, it was the clean version. Obviously, they're not playing the N-word, the explicit song on the pageant stage. She also pointed to the pageant director, I believe, using a song in the background of a post that he reposted that had lyrics that had the N-word. Obviously, the N-word was not in the post. We all like music. When we post things, we post the clean version.
But they use that in here to justify or to explain why the N-word is not a bad thing. Or it shouldn't be, because, look, you all enjoyed music that has it as part of the lyric. But at the top, and this is where I started, I immediately fell out. Because at the top of the lawsuit, it includes a picture of a man she claims, Robes, is her black great-great-granddaddy? Is that right? Do I have it right? Seriously.
I don't know if it's great or great.
No, just great.
But it's her dad's grandfather. So it's
just
her
one. Okay.
Paternal great-grandfather, Antonio Sosa Figueroa, who identified himself as an Afro-Latino.
Robes, they didn't explain stuff. They just threw up this man's picture.
Is that offensive?
Hell yes.
I knew the answer to it. I just wanted you to say it. Obviously. Looky here at my great-grandfather. He looks black.
So I can say the N-word.
Wow.
Robes, this is.
That's when you were laughing.
So because I saw the picture, and it was ridiculous. It's his ID.
It's embarrassing.
It's his photo ID from what though? It's
from the 19. I don't know.
But it was a what? It wasn't a driver's license.
It was some sort of a ID card.
Okay, and yes, he's the darker skinned gentleman. But as part, and it's in the, babe, it's on page 1, is it not?
But also, like, okay, a darker skin, first of all, let me ask you this. Does it matter if he has some black in him or not? And how do we know that? Just because of the picture? Can you just look at a tiny, small little picture that's like almost 100 years old and be like, is he black? I mean, what is happening?
Okay, the man's picture is just off the chain. So you have this woman who is making a justification for why we shouldn't be upset at her using the N-word. And her justification is a 60-year-old ID card of a little man with a dark face named Mr. Figueroa. And it's her great-granddaddy. You know the ongoing. That's always a joke anytime you accuse a white person of being racist.
I have friends who are black.
That thing.
Yes.
And sometimes you can name like how many black people have been to your house, right? That kind of. This fell in line with that.
It was worse. It was worse.
It was bad.
It was worse.
I can say the N-word. It's my great granddaddy. It's my black card. I wish she carries it around.
She literally had a black card.
Yeah. Okay, this part
from 2 generations ago.
This part I'm just joking a little bit, but it was Robes. It was okay. Now
you have to laugh because otherwise it is outrageous.
Okay, I'm falling off the seat a little bit laughing, and then at the opening of the lawsuit, Robes, the first thing before she gets into explaining her case, she lists a Beyonce lyric. To prove what point? Okay, the song Heated, I'm not familiar, but from 2022. Whole lot of money, not a lot of patience, whole lot of N-words been waiting. They want some on it, now I want to flaunt it, panty and bra, we can get involved, boy. Okay, so defendants were solely responsible for selecting and playing the song during Boltinhouse's fitness category walk across the stage. Weeks later, they attempted to justify publicly branding Brittany racist and bigot because 6 resurfaced posts from blah, 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 was still a teenager, revealed she was using the same popular slang term N-word as in the Beyonce lyric.
Babe, is it, I would just think inherently it's offensive to refer to the N-word as a popular slang term when I believe pretty much every single media outlet in the world would refer to the N-word as a racial slur, not a popular slang term.
See, that shouldn't be the debate, but that is where I started getting hot.
That's when you got mad.
Started getting hot.
You're like, okay, this isn't funny anymore.
I was ready to do an episode, and I said, hey, we got to make sure we're in a good mood. This is fun. He's got a whole thing. Ew. By page 2, I was hot. Just how terribly offensive that a group of lawyers, white or otherwise, and I'm not saying these are bad people, but Robes, to read this and to hear a case being made, a justification, and being dismissive of why that word might be offensive. Because it's nothing more than this. It's nothing more than this. That's if maybe they're making a legal case here, and that's fine, Rose. But this is a woman that was hoping to lift herself up. She said she was a good example, right? And she's leading us into a for whatever purpose. And Rose, what's in her heart? What's in her heart? This is unfortunate. This is unfortunate. That's sad. And that phrase is used how many times throughout this lawsuit, baby?
Several. I don't even know. I lost count.
It's
but
repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated.
And then again, in the victimization of her, they then go into a scarlet letter quote. It was a very dramatic lawsuit. They were quoting Shakespeare and Nathaniel Hawthorne about the oppressed. Yeah. It's just, I was like, wow, this is dramatic.
Well, want to give her space. Maybe she really genuinely feels like she's been wronged. Where is I'm up on this? What is in here? Here it is, Robes. This piece, number 26, you see there? They're justifying her use of the N-word back in 2017 and 2019 when she was a teenager. And they say the reason is simple. No one took offense because it was evident in 2017 and 2019, those posts, no offense was intended. They also say that, Robes, no one noticed these posts. It wasn't until they were unearthed. Robes.
Because she was a teenager.
We're saying the same thing.
That no one knew.
But they're suggesting that it was not a problem then. There was no public outcry in 2017 and 2019. Why should there be now? It's written down. They say
That's
that.
offensive, as if we don't understand the fact that no one cared because no one knew who she was, because she wasn't a public figure who was going to be lifted up as some inspiration to young women everywhere. There's a difference.
Well, that actually says that at the time and for nearly decade, the posts generated no comments, objections, or outcry.
Because only her friends, who probably spoke just like her, saw it. Duh.
Brittany's self-evident colloquial use of the popular slang term N-word that is ubiquitous in American society and culture.
How's that make you feel?
Oh, yeah, the culture in the neighborhoods I grew up in is different from the culture in some neighborhoods in the South. And those two words aren't just a part of society and culture. That's a slang term. It's being slung around, yeah, in some places, not as slang. It's so this lawsuit, it says that the word is okay.
You are correct.
Okay, so
this lawsuit says that using the N-word is okay because it's a popular slang term used all the time in songs we all know and love. And so because of that, it's just a part of our culture.
And we should dismiss it. We should dismiss all of this. This is not worth your time. Rose, why the Scarlet Letter thing?
Because she's being branded a certain way.
Oh, well, but not like that.
But again, this is victimhood. I now have a scarlet letter on me. Everyone looks at me now and thinks I'm a racist and thinks I'm a bigot and thinks that I'm a transphobe and thinks that I'm against gay people. Well...
Okay, and this is part of the reason they think that. I didn't know this. I don't know how much people need to be caught up on the Tate brothers and what's going on with them. Down in Florida, they're still fighting extradition back to whatever country is trying to prosecute them for all kinds of atrocities. Robes, these guys, what's the best way they are to
misogynists,
influencers. They have a big following of
they're like the male that's not even a good way to put it. They're like testosterone driven
manosphere guys.
Manosphere social media influencers who have profited greatly on telling men that they can behave like men. And that women who are sexually assaulted or raped are asking for it based on how they dress, how they act, how they present themselves, and that men are dominant. They're the greater of the two sexes.
Yes.
And they're unapologetic about it.
Yes, and they have a huge following.
Make as much money as you can, have sex with as many women as you can. Women are properties. Women are to be basically obtained and our collections. We're objects. We're less than men.
So that would be one thing if they just said these things, thought these things, spewed these things. They are facing charges for doing some pretty atrocious things: sex trafficking, rape, sexual assault. Both of the brothers in I think 2 countries, Rose. But
yes, this is serious. They are potentially going to prison for the rest of their lives.
It's some really awful stuff. She posted a tweet, 2024, I believe, is when this was. Now, Robes, we can just say what it said, first of all, and you can see why this is still problematic.
She wrote, "No matter what you say about Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, their mentality is essential to having liberty and freedom."
I don't know, baby.
But then in this, and she released all the back and forth because she had the transcripts of the audio that she recorded unbeknownst to the folks she was speaking to, the pageant officials, but she was trying to defend it. And in her defense of putting that out there, she said she didn't know. She didn't realize what they were actually accused of.
See, I saw that. She
But
said,
why then, no matter what you say?
That's the thing.
She obviously knew what people were saying.
I don't.
Maybe she didn't know about criminal accusations, but she knew what they were spewing.
Robes, haven't they been held up in some country trying to avoid
Correct.
extradition to another? And all kind of.
If
I don't
you're
know.
that uninformed, don't be tweeting about people.
Damn.
You still have to own what you said and the impact it has. And your ignorance is not a defense.
That's a tough one. I mean, no matter what, our Miss North Carolina that we're holding up has publicly going out in support of the Tate brothers.
An organization that is about empowering women.
Yeah.
That doesn't jibe. It just doesn't.
Even if she didn't know anything about that background stuff, Robes, if you know about the present stuff, just what they're saying, that's a tough one for the organization. Now it gets into, Robes, this is where it was fascinating.
Yes.
The executives, she recorded the phone calls. I assume they did not know, but North Carolina is a one-party state, so you can do this. It is legal, so I'm sure her attorney gave her all this counsel, Robes. But she's talking to Randall Smith. We'll start with him. He's an executive with this production company that puts on the pageant there. And Robes, I could feel his pain through his words.
He told her, you personally have offended me, and
Yeah.
I believe you believe what you're saying. And basically, you wrote what you wrote, and we can't turn back from what you wrote because that's how you feel. So he's like, I'm sorry, I am personally highly offended, and I am part of your team. And look, if anyone has any concept of what this pageant world is, I will tell you this much. Even when I was in the pageant world 30 years ago, when being gay, certainly being trans, was not anywhere near accepted or protected the way it is now, the majority of anyone who worked behind the scenes in the beauty pageant world that I was in the Miss Georgia, I would say a large percentage were in the LGBTQ plus community. And that's just a fact. And for her to enter into this world and then to have this record, this social media recent record of standing for and with people who are against trans rights, that is an impossible situation.
Robes, I'm going to share some of this. I don't believe you can apologize, is what Randall says. I believe that that's how you felt, and that's what's in your heart. And I'm that person, so I feel like you've marginalized me. And unfortunately, I don't see us returning or recovering from this. I just don't. And I'm appalled and I'm offended. I don't mean to, I'm emotional about it, but this is what I do. And to have someone in my circle, I consider the girls my family, to have someone in my family to have spoken about my community like that, because we're not all clumped in one community. Robes, this was, I could feel
I felt it too.
Reading it.
And the weird thing about it is, and I say weird because this is her lawsuit where she's trying to defend herself, and everything she has now put out there in public record makes me feel even more like, thank God the Miss North Carolina USA made the decision they did. And I felt for this guy. I felt his pain. I genuinely did.
What did you think about this? You can have your opinions, but let people live and let them be. But this is not a teaching moment. What do you think he was getting at there? He said, this ain't that time. I thought that was interesting. This is not a teaching moment. Like, you got to go.
Yeah, this is not about you learning to do better and be better, because this is recent, this is real, you're standing by it, and this isn't about you rising above and learning from it. He basically said, I don't think you're ready to learn from it. I don't think you would even mean it if you apologized, because you feel how you feel. I believe that's in your heart.
And based on everything in here, and that's fine. And you know what? It's interesting. This is not a debate about political views. It's just not conservative liberal. We're lumping in hate speech, and folks just want to say conservatism.
Thank you. There are plenty of conservatives. There are plenty of Republicans out there who I know and love who don't feel this way about communities or about just saying that you should have no rights or you should have. Look, we can all have differing views about lots of political a lot of political decisions and legislation that is out there, but hate is hate. And I find it so interesting that she's invoking her faith and her Mormonism and Jesus Christ's name in her defense of how she feels about transgender rights. And that is what is so disturbing to me, because Jesus Christ, look, you were raised Christian, I was raised Catholic, which is also Christian. Some Christians don't believe that, but I would say that Catholics are Christians.
You're going to get no argument from me.
But if anyone actually knows the teachings of Christ, it flies in the face of what she's doing and saying.
I thought
that
so
always
too, but
blows my mind.
I don't know.
What would Jesus do? He would be with and support and be there with the folks who people are pointing the finger at and casting aside and saying you're degenerates and saying you're valuable because you were made in the image of my Father. Like, that is what Jesus Christ said.
No, but she says, as a believer in Jesus Christ, and this is the transgender one that kind of people are pointing to, as a believer in Jesus Christ, I urge you to join me in standing up for what is right and restoring the standards that once defined us. Let us not be silent in the face of moral decay. It is time to reclaim our identity as a nation under God. It was, yes, moral decay.
Moral decay.
Nah.
Look, I understand that we're all still learning about transgender folks. It's a fairly new concept for a lot of people, and it's confusing to a lot of people, and it's scary to a lot of people. But how is that moral decay? What have they done to you or to your rights, or to what assault have they what have they done to anyone who isn't transgender? I'm confused by this whole concept that it's immoral.
We're just so unkind to people. It's a whole group of folks. I don't pretend to get or understand, or it goes into a decision to come out or to tell people, yes, you are trans. I'm not at all, but I've been around, we've interviewed plenty, we've interacted with plenty of folks who are authentic people.
Kind, sweet,
and it's just
loving.
We don't lead with that. I mean, it makes no difference. And it's just, there's a lack of kindness or decency, I should say. Even if you disagree, that is fine.
I get that.
Fine. But it's interesting, moral to say that somebody or who they are, an entire community of folks, you are bringing this whole country down. Whew,
it is time to reclaim our identity as a nation under God.
I mean, so now they're adding up, Robes. You got the Tate brothers, you got the N-word stuff, you got
making a post about the proclamation for Transgender Day.
Yes, so the moral decay. So it kind of just keep going. Robes, this was kind of a snowball. That first statement, when they put out, they said it was a collection of, they were not kidding. I didn't know it was this much stuff.
I believed them when they put that out there, and I respected them for not laying out all her dirty laundry.
Okay, so Robes, this is the best. They could put this out in a statement, and I know this is the long I have in front of you. Robes, you can't say it better than this. They said this to her on the phone. If they would have said this in a statement, I'm like, oh, okay, that it wouldn't even been much of a story. We wouldn't have followed up on Brittany Boltinhouse. We would not have, because this all makes sense. I think Ariana Blaze is the name, an executive at this production company that does it. Robes, Ariana nailed it.
She did. She said, so for example, making a post about the proclamation for Transgender Day. We've had a transgender Miss USA contestant. It was Nevada a few years ago. The current owner of Miss USA is a gay man. So when certain things are, most of her fan base are gay men. We have title holders that are going to compete against her that are lesbians. So when they see things like that, people are getting offended. People are offended, and that's something that we can't control. Freedom of speech, when you choose to say whatever you want to say. On the contrary, you have to deal with the backlash of how people will interpret that. So it's all say what you want to say, but now when you're in a closed circuit where the majority of people, those messages offended them, it makes people uncomfortable.
Okay, right there. This is like they're on the phone saying this, explaining this to her.
This isn't some well thought out written statement. She's just
on the fly
talking
explaining,
not knowing she's being recorded, not knowing everything she's saying is being transcribed. She's speaking from the heart, and she said that's the whole issue that the national office is having, and that everyone is having is it's offensive. It's really, oh, I love Trump. Trump is my person. That is not the issue, because we have a lot of girls that are competing, have voted for Trump, or their families have voted for Trump. It's not that.
Okay, babe, right there. She's trying to point to her political leanings. They said to her, plain as day. I think, was this before they even took the crown officially? But this was in a phone call. Babe, she came out publicly and said they took it because of that. Robes, like she's the only person that supports Donald Trump.
That is impossible in the state of North Carolina, first of all. It's literally
That's a good point.
statistically impossible. You have, like, I don't know how many.
Statistically
I'm trying to
impossible.
remember. It's not 100 girls. But you have a lot of girls competing for that. And certainly all the pageants that led into getting to that time. I mean, you're talking thousands of girls competed. You tell me none of those girls, either they or their families voted for Trump
But
in a
she got
state
picked
that
out.
voted for Trump.
She got picked
There's
out.
no way that's possible. There's no way. So they say it's not that you voted for Trump, it's that the direct messages are offensive. So when you say black lives don't matter, you talk about black on black crime. But if we're being clear, that's not just black on black crime. There's white on white crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime, correct on white crime. A crime, I don't know what that was. There's every race and ethnicity has crime against each other. But in a sensitive time like that, saying that is discrediting to what the world also saw. Do we know what she's referencing
She's
here?
referencing something that was brought to their attention about the George Floyd killing.
So she made a comment about the
You got it.
about Black Lives
Black
Matter,
lives not mattering, and yes, that is what she's referring to.
all lives matter, that kind of rhetoric.
Mhm.
So she said that is something that we all thought that man is sitting in jail because of that. So it's not something that is a difference between an opinion and a fact. All these statements are hurting people, and that is the issue the national office is having. Once again, the fight is the Andrew Tate brothers. Like, we're a women's organization, and saying that no matter what you say about Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, their mentality is essential to have liberty and freedom. These guys are not good guys to women. They were not good guys to women, and this is Brittany's face, Brittany's name, and Brittany said this.
Babe, that is as good. They should have had one press conference, and they could have buried her, and they tried not to, and she has sued them for this. This is extraordinary that she put these in here. And there were some things that are highlighted. You saw they had in bold. Those things didn't seem to help at all.
No, it made her look worse. That's what was amazing to me. I've never seen a lawsuit in which you're defending yourself and casting yourself as a victim who deserves monetary compensation for said grievances, and everything you lay
Point
out
two.
makes you look like the biggest asshole in the world. I'm like, what am I in, like an alternate universe? Am I in the upside down world where good is bad and bad is good? Because that's what it felt like to me reading this lawsuit. I mean, look, I understand we all can come from different thoughts and different belief systems of what's right and what's wrong, but to me, hate is always wrong. Generalizing people and taking away people's rights is wrong. So I don't know. That's just it seems obvious to me, and I think it's scary that it isn't to her, to her lawyers, and probably to a fairly decent percentage of folks who read this and think, hell yeah, fight the fight.
What would you tell this young lady if you had a chance to sit her down? Seriously.
To take a moment and reflect, and to actually consider that you've done harm. Actually consider that your
Yeah, wow.
words have caused pain, and take accountability and responsibility for that. Read the Bible. Read what Jesus said. Read who Jesus was hanging out with. He wasn't hanging out with the righteous and the people who go to church. He was hanging out with the people who others had cast aside and said were degenerates. I want her to actually know what the Bible said, what Jesus said, and actually ask herself if that aligns with what she's put out in the world in her social media posts.
Who will she listen to, I wonder? I wonder who's in her ear that she would trust. Who can pull her to the side? Because you don't have to go that far, Robes, to find people who will say, Brittany, this ain't the way, sister. That can't be. Then she's surrounded by yes men otherwise. Babe.
She claims, and she claimed in this lawsuit, that she grew up in a multicultural environment she has friends from all different ethnicities. That very well may be true. That would be surprising to me that she hasn't heard from them and hasn't quieted some of her rhetoric.
You started when I said, what would you say to her? You said recognize that she's done harm. This is remarkable, baby. I wasn't offended by her until this lawsuit. I read her post.
I actually agree with what you're saying in the sense that I can verify that you were defending her more than I was.
I did.
You had obviously more reason to be upset. I have zero reason to be personally offended, other than I can see what she can't see, and I wish for her that she could open up her heart and her mind a little bit and just look at it from a different lens instead of, I think a lot of us, we all do this. We all cling to our identities and our upbringing. And I think she thinks because she's the daughter of immigrants and that her family has worked hard to get where she is and that she's got brown skin, that she has a right to say things that maybe even someone who looks like me doesn't feel like she does. But it's a little sad and scary to me that she doesn't recognize that she's actually in a weird way feeling entitled because she doesn't have white skin, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Rome's, I'm trying not to give up on her and dismiss her as a bad person. I don't know who's advising her, but you said, Robes, you're to get her to recognize that she has caused offense, even if it wasn't originally intended. The N-word posts, the original ones, she was a teenager. Okay, I'm not dismissing, but there should have been, even right then, a lesson learned. She still could have come out and acknowledged those. Still, I wasn't offended, Rose. I wasn't even offended when she did that interview. And the interviewer didn't even ask her a lot of questions. She didn't really answer, but I was like, ugh. Rose, she's now put out a 79-page document defending herself and her actions. And she's put me in a position to feel like an absolute idiot for giving her a shot. She had a chance, Robes. All she had to do was come out and said, I made a mistake. Or, Robes, I would have accepted this. Yeah, I grew up saying the N-word. I grew up around a lot of black folks. I tried to get out of my vocabulary. I see why some are upset. I don't say it anymore. I would have taken that as an answer. No. She let a white group of folks put together a page after page after page lawsuit that says it's just a popular slang term. Oh, and a dude I don't even know, I feel bad for, great-granddaddy, who in trying, who knows, I don't know how, if he's passed, I assume he has.
He's deceased. They did say he's deceased.
That dead man's face is being slapped on a lawsuit to prove she's black. So we don't give her a hard time for the harm she caused. It's okay, folks, sometimes to just say, I didn't mean to do that, but I recognize the result was harm.
And I do think that young people might not recognize in certain communities, maybe even, that is still a painful thing to be doing and saying, but recognizing that
They know.
I know. I was like,
but if they don't, go test it out and run down the street yelling the N-word and let's see if we're past
we
it.
don't encourage that.
Okay. Yeah, we should probably throw up a disclaimer. Okay, yeah. Okay, don't do that. Anyway, that was...
That was sarcasm.
Yes.
That was sarcasm.
All right. We put a graphic up over that, too.
Sarcasm.
Oh, God. I don't know how far this one is going to go or how far she wants to take this, but she doesn't want the crown back. She wants her reputation back, which, I assure you, was better off before the lawsuit.
Yes. And she'd like some money. Let's be honest.
Well,
this is about money.
It wasn't named, right? It wasn't...
An undisclosed amount.
And it was punitive. They wanted some punitive in there,
yes,
right?
She does. And I did see they were demanding a jury trial.
Man, I'm moving to North Carolina. How long do I have to be a resident of that county?
You think there are going to be any black folks on that jury?
Oh, wait, you talk, strike that juror. Why?
Trust me, whoever's defending the Miss USA, they're going to be like, as many gays, as many blacks, as many trans folks, as many as we can get on that jury. Yeah, that would.
She wants a jury trial.
She wants a jury trial.
Hey, right now I'm telling you, we're traveling for that one. We're going to be those people. We want passes every day. We're going to be sitting in the back of a civil trial. Okay.
Woo!
All right, folks, we appreciate you as always. I'm TJ, that's Robes. Can't wait for the next one.